So as promised, we got the Widowmaker together and started before Christmas. I especially love proving all the doubters wrong. Lex, for example, the guy that delivers the parts, the mailman, the guy at the tuck shop, even myself. I tell you what though, this thing has got a lot of power. It's got me thinking, what if we give it a little bit more power? More power than anything in the history of drift trikes.
This is the Widowmaker Garage. You put the plastic sleeves in the Widowmaker tyres so we could drift it around some places. So like these on there, the tyres.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked absolutely.
The thing is so much easier to handle now. I drifted that thing around the roundabout just outside the shed there, and it turns so much easier. Initially it was actually quite dangerous and really hard to turn with the fixed axle that we've got in there. Well, it's been a little bit too long in between episodes, so sorry about that. We got a little bit distracted there with the Christmas break. Lex has done a fair bit of go-kart racing, which he's doing really, really well at. And Lex and I had the chance to drive little sprint cars. Mine was called an Outlaw Kart, and Lex's is called a little box stock. So that was a lot of fun.
You just gotta try and drift. It's like a miniature buggy. There was a crash in my one where one of the kids forgot to turn and smashed right into the barrier and ended up upside down.
Give it lots of pepper.
Yeah, just get a whippersnipper on the back of a go-kart and that's it.
That actually come about from a good friend of ours, Owen Kelly. Now Owen supplied some of the parts for the Widowmaker behind me. The actual rims, tyres, axle carriers and axle sprocket, all the stuff on the back end of that Widowmaker there is actually out of one of those box stocks. So we thought it was only right if we head down there and see what that's all about. They've got a 450cc engine in them, mine has obviously, not Lex's, and they go like stink.
He did quite well. He won.
I haven't driven anything competitive in a long time, and that was an absolute shitload of fun.
He got a trophy.
This is a track here. So over the Christmas break, I've enjoyed taking the Drift Trike for a spin, and it's got me thinking, what if we try and give this thing a little bit more horsepower and have a crack at a Guinness World Record for the most powerful drift trike in the world? So the Guinness World Record for the world's most powerful drift trike is set at about, I think, 80 kilowatt, which is about 108 horsepower. Now keep in mind, a normal powered drift trike has got about 6 horsepower. So that's a massive, massive jump. The Widowmaker as it sits, we think is about 80 or 90 horsepower. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but I tell you what, it'd be pretty cool to have a Guinness World Record under our belt in the Hellbent garage.
We're getting quite close. I think we can.
I actually think it's going to be pretty hard to achieve. Guinness obviously set the bar pretty high to gain a world record, and then all the people from around the world try and constantly break it, and that's why the horsepower number for a drift trike is actually so high. So it's going to take us a bit to get to that level. Well, I contacted Guinness World Records. There's a little bit of a wait time there between communication. I think there's so many people around the world trying to get different records for the longest earlobes and the biggest tongue and the most piercings and all the things that we've seen. There's actually some pretty significant ones out there, like the world's fastest car. I actually found out about this because I have attempted a world record before with the remote control jet-powered car. So I knew the process, knew it was going to take a little bit of time. So we've got the ball rolling on that one. First we have to verify that the dyno is actually an acceptable level for Guinness, so that they know we're not fudging anything. From there we're able to then build the trike, run and attempt the world record. So we've got to have a lot of witnesses there, and we've got to have a whole lot of evidence put together after we do that run to submit to them for their consideration. So it's not really a simple process, because obviously they need to ensure that we are legitimate, that we've got the horsepower figures and torque figures kilowatt figures that we need to gain that record. Then they process it and give us the good news or the bad news. The last record attempt, we only had bad news, which was unfortunate. So we're looking at turning that around and getting a Guinness World Record with the Widowmaker. What do you and Dad get if you get the record?
You get a special piece of paper.
Is that it?
Yeah. You just get a piece of paper.
Sometimes you get your name in the cool Guinness World Records book as well, but there's so many records out there, I'm not sure that we're going to be lucky enough to get that. Well, we've got a massive day ahead of us here in the Hellbent garage. We're actually going to try and put the Widowmaker Drift Trike on a dyno. Michael at Quick Bits in Dandenong's give us a hand to see how much power this thing's got. We're going to try and modify the go-kart trailer here so that this thing fits in there. At the moment it doesn't, it's a little bit too wide. So we're going to have to cut one bar out of the go-kart trailer to get it in. And of course we've only just got this thing going, so there's a fair bit of work to do on this to make it worthy of going on a dyno. We've got a chain that's interfering with one of the bars. The thing's not charging itself, so the battery goes flat. There's a few bolts and bits and pieces missing, so I'm going to work hard to get it done in the next couple of hours, pick Lex up from school and head to the dyno. Alright, I've got one chain out, which is this one, and I'm putting in the new gold one. Not just because it looks cool, but because it's one link longer than the original. So if you have a look in here, there's a fair bit going on. We've got the drive sprocket up here, and I've put two carrier sprockets on. One, which is in here up the top, and that's to clear this gearbox mount that you might not be able to see in there. Otherwise the chain would hit it. I've got another carrier sprocket down here in the back, and that's to have the chain clear this bar here. And you can see when I didn't have that in there, the chain was just rubbing. So, bit of an interesting one. On a go-kart, you normally have a fixed axle like what we've got here with no adjustment. And to tighten the chain, you move the engine back and forward. On a motorbike, you have a fixed engine position and you have a rear wheel that you can adjust back and forward to give you the correct chain tension. So unfortunately, I've got a fixed go-kart axle and a fixed motorbike engine, so I don't have a lot of room to move it back and forth. I can slot the holes or drill extra holes here and move the axle back and forth, but I'm hoping I don't need to do that. I'm hoping that the longer chain with two carrier sprockets is going to be just the right length for us to clear all the bars, and we'll be good to go. So I'll chuck the gold chain in now, connect it all up and see how we go. Well, I wasn't so lucky with the chain length, so unfortunately I've had to pull the axle out, as you can see, and I'm going to drill another set of holes here in the brackets, all three of these brackets, so that I've got a bit more adjustment with the axle and can tension the chain. Probably should have done that to start with, but like a few things, it was slightly overlooked given the chain and the adjustment I didn't quite have there on the carrier sprockets. I thought the carrier sprocket adjustment would have been enough, but the difference between chain lengths is actually about that long, 20 or 30 mil. It's way too much to adjust with the carrier sprocket. So get stuck into this, get it together, and hopefully we're still going to make the dyno run. Well, that was full on. Didn't go completely ideal. Got a drill bit in my thumb, which was a fair bit of fun. Big mess. And even with the wheels as narrow as they'll go, it doesn't really fit inside the go-kart trailer. So we've had to go in on an angle. Pretty late to pick up Lex from school. What do you say? Sometimes you have days like this, and sometimes it goes smoothly. Hopefully we get a chance to still get to the dyno today and give it a run, and hopefully that bit goes well. Ready? There she is.
Woo! Right here, sitting in the go-kart trailer. So it's kind of a bit stuck, isn't it?
Yep.
So the problem with this is the stands might break. Oh, showtime. Okay, the attempt. You need to slide it one way a bit more. So that's what I was talking about. Touching.
Stuck.
That's what I was saying, you have to shift it in on one end. It's a bit harder than what it seems. There she is. He's stuck. Do it slowly.
Alright, are we?
He's freed it.
I haven't perfected this, because see when we get to here, the brake's going to drop down.
Look at that.
Ready?
Yep.
That was better than I thought.
We've got her out completely. Look at this beauty.
Well, we've made it. We're here at Quick Bits with Michael and Jaden. The boys already got their Widowmaker on the dyno. We're just strapping that thing down so it doesn't go anywhere when we hold it flat. Lex Man's here from school.
Straight from school.
So we're going to strap it down and see what it makes.
A dyno is a big piece, let's just say it's a big piece of metal with these spinning wheels at the back. You put like a car, motorbike, whatever you want on the back of it, and when the tyres spin on the drift trike, so pretend you're going forward on the drift trike, but you're on those sleds, it registers how many, whatever it is you're going.
So pretty simple dyno to use this one. We've got some functions that are real cool. So pretty much we set the start speed, which is 50 kilometres. We've sort of guessed it with this thing, being a bit of a different project we're not used to. And then we've got a stabilised time of 2 seconds. Now what that does, as you start approaching 50 Ks, at about 45 kilometres, the chassis dynamometer is going to apply the brake and start slowing the car, and you're going to have to start yanking on the throttle to bring the load into it. After 2 seconds, it's going to let go of the brake and it's going to begin the ramp.
And at that point, I'm full throttle?
You're full throttle, right? And you're full throttle. When it goes green, you go slowly bring it to full throttle. After 2 seconds, it takes off. You're still full throttle and the ramp begins. When you're done at the end, you just let off. You don't have to press a thing.
How do I know when I'm done?
So what we do is we look at the nice pretty picture it draws and we get off when it starts to roll off. As long as the valve train and everything can cope with it, which I'm sure it can because it's a motorbike.
Well, I built the engine.
So I reckon we get off somewhere here. But I'll be screaming. If you hear me screaming, clapping, waving,
stop.
Get off. We're just going to keep an eye on everything, make sure we're all safe because it's an open wheel machine. Comes with its own risk. So just be cautious and see what this bad boy's got before it gets touched up a bit.
That's cool. Thank you. I tell you what, it's a little bit unnerving sitting on that thing when the rear wheels are spinning at 170 kilometres an hour. Pretty fast for the components on that, especially considering that Lex and I welded that thing together.
That scared the crap out of me.
That's what we do.
I thought I was going to blow up.
Well, that's that. That was a lot of fun. Lex is running around, jumping in and out of things. We've got the Widowmaker packed back away. But I tell you what, Michael and Jaden at Quick Fit, these guys are legends. That was so much fun. We loosened the straps just slightly, took some load off the rear, changed a couple of things around to get a bit more horsepower out of the Widowmaker and got it right up to over 90 horsepower, which is fantastic. I think it was like 67.5 kilowatts. So that's not going to be a world record just yet, but it's a lot of power for a drift trike and it puts us in the window. From here, the world record attempt's going to be next. In order to do that, we need to pull that Widowmaker down in a few areas, paint a few things, weld a few things, and most importantly, add the Trask turbo kit to it so we've got the horsepower we need.